So ecosystem. An ecosystem can be visualized as a functional unit of nature. What we can say, ecosystem can be considered as functional unit of nature. So this is very important point here. Ecosystem can be considered as functional unit of nature. Means to understand the whole nature, we can understand, that means by looking towards reading, having an idea on ecosystem, we can apply here all over the world, that interactions between the living organisms among themselves and their surrounding with physical environment, interaction with the surrounding environment, how it is happening in between the organisms, interaction between the organism and organism interaction with their surrounding physical environment can be understood by reading the ecosystem. Okay, so that's why we are going to say an ecosystem can be visualized as a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. So, ecosystems vary greatly in size. Properties, they varies greatly in size. Smallest ecosystem to large different kinds of ecosystems we are going to mention now, that vary size from, if you take a small pond, is a small ecosystem we can see, and a large forest, that is also ecosystem, and a sea ecosystem we can say. So that means small like pond, we can say it's an ecosystem. That similar properties whatever we are going to mention about the ecosystem can be visible in a small pond or in a large forest or in a sea ecosystem. Similar properties will run over. That's an interesting thing here. Either it is a small pond or either it is a bigger sea, the properties are going to be the same, and that's why we call the ecosystem as a functional unit of nature. We can say it as functional unit of nature. So many ecologists regard the entire biosphere, that they said as global ecosystem. They used a word called global ecosystem. According to many ecologists, whole earth is a that a bigger ecosystem, which we can say composites of all ecosystems on earth. That means combining form of all the ecosystems of, composite means mixture of all ecosystems of the earth. We can say that whole earth as a global ecosystem. Global ecosystem means, according to some ecologists, they say the word earth is itself a global ecosystem, which is a composite of all the ecosystem. That point to remember over, that according to the ecologists, earth is a global ecosystem. So but this system is too much big and complex to be studied at one time. That's why we are making this for our convenience. We are making the ecosystem into two categories. We are, for our convenience, we are making the ecosystem, global ecosystem at a time. Reading is going to be a complex issue. So that's why we are making the ecosystem into two categories. One, terrestrial ecosystem. One we can say terrestrial ecosystem, and the other aquatic ecosystem. Okay, so terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Okay, so let me take a look back again on the ecosystem properties. The ecosystem is a functional unit of nature. It varies greatly in size, and from small pond to large forest or sea. And according to some ecologists, that ecosystem, the whole earth is a global ecosystem, which is a composite of all ecosystems. And the two categories we have. That means for our convenience, we studied that we are dividing the ecosystem into two categories. What are they? Terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. Let's talk about the terrestrial ecosystem. It's there in the name. Simply, we can say ecosystems of land. We can say it as terrestrial ecosystem. All the ecosystems of the land can be called terrestrial ecosystem. For example, like forest, a forest ecosystem, or a grassland ecosystem, a forest ecosystem, a grassland ecosystem, or a desert ecosystem. We can say a desert ecosystem. That what do you say? All these are on land. So that's why we can say the forest, grassland, desert, etc. That all going to be come under terrestrial ecosystem. When it comes to an aquatic ecosystem, that means ecosystems of water. So let's take examples of aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem include, it might be a pond, smaller, little bigger, lake it can be, a wetland, we can say a wetland, pond or lake or a wetland, we can say, and a river, then estuary, where fresh water and marine water are going to combine each other. We can say estuarine ecosystem, we discussed in the water topic. So these are all different kinds of ecosystem. We can say among these particular examples, we can classify them into again two: lentic ecosystem, lotic ecosystem. Just for information, means stable water ecosystems are lentic. Means if you take pond, stable water, lake, stable water. But you see the river and estuary, flowing water, isn't it? So river and estuary can be called lotic, and pond and lake are called lentic aquatic ecosystem. Just for information. Okay, so these are all different kinds of ecosystem. When you take crop fields and an aquarium, may also be considered as man-made ecosystem. Okay, so man-made ecosystem won't come in category, but if you see, we have man-made ecosystems also. Some of the ecosystems made by man. It at our houses we use it to prepare. We make an aquarium, isn't it? So that we can say smallest ecosystem, but that is man-made. Man-made ecosystem like aquarium we can take, or crop fields. Crop field, they don't have the norms of total ecosystems, but we can say some of the ecosystems are man-made, aquarium and crop field. So this is a brief about the ecosystems like terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem, forest, grassland, desert. Aquatic ecosystem, the pond, lake, wetland, river, estuary, they all come under aquatic ecosystem. Okay. So then along with that, you have to see some man-made ecosystems are there like aquarium, like the crop fields which are created by the man. Okay, so then in this series, first of all, we look on the structure of ecosystem. Structure. So chapter name is ecosystem. That's why everything run through the ecosystem for ecosystem. So first of all, we are moving with structure of ecosystem. So in order to appreciate the input, the productivity we can call input, the properties we are moving on. That first of all, the productivity of the ecosystem, we have to see that how does the energy is going to be produced, and whatever the energy produced over that, how it is transferred to the organisms, transfer of energy, that is from the through the food chain, we can see. In transfer of energy, it will come food chain and food web, food chain, food web, which we are discussing. We are going to discuss all these things in our chapter. Nutrient cycling. These are all said to be structural aspects of ecosystem. Transfer of energy like food chain, food web, and nutrient cycling. That how does the different kinds of nutrients are going to be transferred here, and transfer of energy. That productivity will come under input. Okay, so they are all come under input. Okay, so transfer of energy in what point of view? Wait. Here we have a small spell mistake. Input. Okay, so let me write here. Transfer of energy, input. Then what is output? Output means going out from the ecosystem. So degradation and energy loss. Output like degradation, energy loss. Just introduction here, don't get confused. That so degradation, we are going to all these issues we are going to discuss now in the chapter. So what we are going to discuss, just we are making map, that's all. Degradation, we can say, energy loss, these are all said to be output from ecosystem. Okay, so what structure of ecosystem is saying? there is a transfer of energy. There is a transfer of energy. Energy transfer like input, what you can say, input, food chain. In the input, we'll discuss food chain, food web, and nutrient cycling. And in output, we say the degradation and energy loss. In output, we are going to discuss about the degradation as well as energy loss. Okay, so let us discuss one after another here, one after another what we are saying now. We look first look at the structure of the ecosystem in order to appreciate the input like productivity and the transfer of energy, in transfer of energy, food chain, food web, nutrient cycling, and the output like degradation and energy loss. So after these, we are also going to look at the relationship between the that ecosystem organisms like cycles, chains, webs, which are created as a result of these energy flows within the system, and their interrelationships are also going to be discussed here in this particular chapter. So let's start the chapter here. This is just introduction. All these things we are going to discuss in detail now. That in that, first of all, ecosystem structure and function. Ecosystem structure and function. So let us discuss about the structure and function of the ecosystem now. Okay, structure and function. So, as in chapter 13, in organism population chapter, we have looked at the various components of the environment, abiotic factors like in that physical factors and chemical factors, biotic factors like producers, consumers, decomposers, different kinds of things. Just by namesake, we learn, isn't it? So now here, individual abiotic and the biotic and abiotic factors affected each other and their surroundings. Individuals are going to be affected by biotic and abiotic factors. We discussed it there actually. So now the components are in a more integrated manner. See how the flow of energy takes place within these components of the ecosystem. That means from different trophic levels, that energy, how it is going to be transferred over that kind of links. We are going to now interaction of biotic and abiotic components. Interaction of biotic and abiotic components. So, like organism population, this chapter is also very important in need point of view. That every sentence, every line is very important in this particular chapter. Some concept-based issues will come that we focus there more. Then means let us focus on this particular area. But only guarantee we can give here. These are the kind of chapters. If you focus once, we'll remind it for a longer period of time till need no matter. No much efforts required over. Classroom listening is very important for us. Okay. So that's why we are going to learn whatever we learn organism populations chapter, that is a continuation. Here we are going to learn all these in a more integrated manner. The interaction of biotic and abiotic component results in a physical structure, results in a physical structure that is the characteristic, that is a characteristic for each type of ecosystem. These are all these kind of things will come in say as a statement questions for us. Okay, let's read once the statement here. What we made it out. Interaction of abiotic and biotic components in a physical structure that is characteristic of for the each type of ecosystem, that these kind of that any ecosystem you can see these kind of interactions between abiotic component and biotic component, in between the biotic components and biotic components with abiotic components. Okay, so I don't think so. I need to say back again what is abiotic, what is biotic. That means light, temperature, water, these are all abiotic components that we discussed in the previous chapter. Biotic components means organism, producer, consumer, decomposer. So the producer, consumer, decomposer, their relationships and their relationship with light, temperature, water, which we discuss their individual manner. Now, in more integrating manner, in this chapter, we are going to learn. Okay. So, identification and enumeration of plant and animal species of an ecosystem gives its species composition. Let me make one more statement here. Let me go for one more statement. Identification. Identification of what we are talking about, identification and enumeration. Identification and enumeration of plant and animal species of an ecosystem gives the species composition. Gives the species composition. Okay, so that means to get the species composition, you have to identify and you have to enumerate the plant and animal species present in that particular ecosystem. This is the one more property of ecosystem to be understand, to be learn over. This is another statement. We are framing statements. These statements will come in examination directly. Now, that one more. Vertical distribution. Vertical distribution means levels of that means some plants, some small plants will be seen over, then some more than that length another plant can be seen over. We call it as vertical distribution. Let me complete. First of all, I'll show you afterwards. Vertical distribution of different species. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels. Occupying, wait. So occupying different levels. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels is called stratification. Is called stratification. Okay, so this is stratification is the word we know very well before, but this is what kind of stratification we are talking about. We are talking about a special kind of stratification, vertical distribution of the different species occupying different level. Just let me show you here. For example, on the land, let's say, let me take the land here, that on the land, imagine there is some small grass is there. Okay, there is grass. Okay, so wait, annotation is coming. Small grass. Bigger than this, we can see some little plants are present, and you may see, I have seen over another plant bigger than this, or you can see a bigger tree. Okay, so what do you call it as? Vertical distribution. Small species to that large trees, we can say this is called stratification. So large tree, then after that plants, some small plants, some smallest plants. What do you say this kind of distribution as? Vertical distribution. Now read the line. Vertical distribution of the different species occupying different levels is called stratification. Very important word this is, sentence. Okay, so let me close this. What we said about the ecosystem structure and function, that it will come by interaction of abiotic and biotic components results in a physical structure that is characteristic for each type of ecosystem. Means a physical structure, how it come in ecosystem? By the interaction of abiotic and biotic component. Next, identification and enumeration of the plant and animal species of an ecosystem gives the species composition. Means here should understand how does the species composition will get. The species composition will come by identification and enumeration of the plant and animal species. Okay, so how does the physical structure will come? Between the interaction of abiotic and biotic component. Between the interaction of abiotic and biotic component results in a physical structure. That results in a physical structure. And species composition will come by identification and enumeration of the plant and animal species. Okay, then next, third one. Vertical distribution of the different species occupying different levels is called stratification. So on the screen, we are learning how does a physical structure of ecosystem is formed. Then that how does the species composition can be seen in ecosystem, and what is stratification. These three issues we are talking in this area. Okay, and along with the stratification example, we said, like for example, the tree occupy the top vertical strata or a layer of the forest. Then small shrubs will come, then herbs will come, then grasses will come. So in the vertical stratification, we can tell if you take the longer one is going to be tree that occupies the top vertical strata. Shrubs. Let me make here. Let me make here on the next screen. We'll see because this is a very important one. So that from the bigger tree. So trees occupy the top vertical. There's a layer of forest. The tree. Why you should write top? Let seems to that diagram itself showing that this is top. Wait. So tree will come first. Okay. Then after that, lesser than them. Who will come lesser than that? Shrubs will come. Shrubs and the next shrubs will come. Okay. So I am writing here. Just not trying to make the original visual. Just level, reducing level that you have to understand. First tree, then shrubs will come. Then the vertical herbs will come. Little more smaller we have to draw them. Herbs will come. Okay. After that, small grass will come. Okay. So what do you say this as? Vertical stratification levels. We get sequence question also. So let me write grass. So grass, herbs, shrubs, tree. From land to sky. From sky to land, tree, shrub, herbs, grass. Not they are saying they are touching the sky, but this is the strata. Okay. So this is about excuse me, vertical stratification. Okay. Next, the components of the ecosystem. Just let's start the topic here. The components of the ecosystem. The components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit. The components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit when you consider the following aspects. If you consider the following aspects, the components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit. Okay, so let us see. Let us see that for that particular aspects we have to see. So one after another, and we have to discuss in detail after that. Okay, number one, productivity. Number one, productivity. Number two, decomposition. Number two, decomposition. Okay. As number three, energy flow. Energy flow. And the last one, nutrient cycling. Energy flow and the nutrient cycling. Productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. Okay, so the components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit when you consider the following aspects. That what are the aspects here? Productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and the nutrient cycling. Okay, so to understand the ethos of an aquatic ecosystem, let us take a small pond as an example. Let us take a small pond an example here, that individually productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycle will be taught that time being in the coming classes here. So before that, we are taking a small pond as an example here. If you take a pond, smallest unit we said already, the pond. So that pond is a self-sustainable unit. We can say properties wise. That let's start the properties. Writing properties here. It's a self-sustainable unit. What is meant by self-sustainable? No need to supply energy from outside. Their producers are there in the pond, and they can manage to produce, and they are the herbivores dependent on the plants. They are eating the producers. That means self-sustainable. So nothing to supply from outside. They can manage themselves. Okay, so the pond is a self-sustainable unit. We can say that as a property. Is a simple example to explain other complex interactions that exist in an aquatic ecosystem. If we learn about the pond, that we can understand the bigger ecosystem in marine water and ocean, what is happening, all the things we can learn. Okay, so what is a pond? Pond is a shallow water body in which all the above mentioned, that means productivity, decomposition, energy flow, nutrient cycling, All these are happening in the plant. Shallow water body with the earlier mentioned. What are they? Productivity, decomposition, energy flow, nutrient cycling. All these properties are there in the pond. Okay, so four basic components, we can say four basic components. Question will come in that manner itself. What are the four basic components of ecosystem? What are the four basic components of ecosystem? Any ecosystem, but we are now talking about the pond ecosystem. What are the four basic components which are reflected over in the ecosystem? Again, I am writing here productivity. Then, what are the other? Decomposition. Yes, number three.
Energy flow.
Very good. Energy flow. Number four.
Nutrient cycling.
Nutrient cycling. Okay, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. All these four components of a ecosystem are well exhibited in the pond. Okay, so next, what is the abiotic component? The in the pond, which is the major one, we can say pond itself made of water, isn't it? So abiotic component of the pond is the water with all the dissolved and inorganic and organic substances and rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. So let us write here. So what is the abiotic component here? Water. Pond itself filled with water, isn't it or not? So what kind of water is present here? Water with all the dissolved inorganic. Once you remember about the lake ecosystem, Dimitic Lake, we just seen over. Similar kind of properties, isn't it? It has both dissolved inorganic and organic components. Inorganic and organic components, substances are present, and rich soil that deposit at the bottom of the pond, dissolved in inorganic and organic. And also what you can see, rich. What is rich? Nutrient rich, we can see. What is the meaning of here? Rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. Rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. We can see the properties, the abiotic factor. Water, what do you say? It has abiotic factor. So as an abiotic factor, it has dissolved inorganic and organic substances and rich soil deposit, which is seen at the bottom of the pond. We got a small mistake here. Let me correct it. Dissolve at the bottom of the pond. Okay. Then solar input. Solar input, what it mean? Light, isn't it? Okay, so what a solar input can make? Temperature, solar input, the temperature cycle. Temperature cycle means, do you remember? Stratification during summer, during winter. Okay, day length. Did you remember the day length? What do you call the day length? Day length we called in earlier chapter, chapter 13, as a photo period. Okay, then other climatic conditions. Other climatic conditions. We are talking about a basic property of the lake here, that other climatic condition. What are the issues here? The solar input, the cycle of temperature, day length, and other climatic condition regulate the, what these are doing? They are going to regulate conditions, going to regulate. Yes, this is very important. Who are going to regulate? That will ask like that. So regulate. These are new things, not new things here. We learned already in the earlier chapter. Regulate, rate of, just their interrelationships we are talking now. We learned water, we learned temperature, we learned daylight, we learned photo period. Then how they are influencing, that we are talking about now. So these are all we are saying. They are going to regulate the rate and the function of the entire pond. So who are regulating the rate and function of the entire pond? Solar input, temperature, day length, then other climatic conditions are going to regulate the uh, rate of function of the entire pond. Means here, for example, solar input is good there, temperature is optimum, day length is optimum. What we can say, more producers can be seen over. If more producers to eat, more herbivores will come. Then to eat herbivores, more consumers will come. Then the pond will be colorful with all kind of biotic components. Means here we are saying here abiotic components, if they are optimum, that function of the entire pond can be influenced. In that way, we are talking about energy flow can be seen over from producers to the herbivores to the consumers, secondary consumers, carnivores. Okay, now the autotrophic components include, that means in the pond. Let's talk about. Again, I'm putting the heading because we are discussing about the pond, the properties of the ponds we are discussing now. So then here, so can we say here what are the autotrophs in the pond? What kind of autotrophs can be expected over in the pond?
Algae.
Yes, very good. What we have a technical name in our biological classification chapter. What do you call them? Those who float on the surface of water.
Phytoplankton.
Yeah, very good. Phytoplankton. The minute microorganisms which can produce the food material which float on the surface of water, can't swim against the water currents. We call them as phytoplanktons. Okay. So some algae we can take some algae. That some algae as an example we can take here. And along with that, phytoplanktons are there. Then flora. What about the other flora? Is there any? Yeah, it's sure reason we'll find the flora. I am putting the heading flora here. Means plants. Is there any possibility of plants here? Yeah, definitely. We can say we can classify the plants into three. Some floating plants can be seen over. Floating vegetation we can say. And submerged vegetation we can say completely sink. Do you know any plant which is completely submerged can be seen in the plant, in the pond? Lend in botany, Hydrilla, Vallisneria, Potamogeton, isn't it? So we can say some are the marginal plants which found at edges. Means here most of the plant will be on that on edge we can say here that what we can say most of the plant roots are there in water, but plant is there in an aerial mode. So what we can say flora. So autotrophs, it may be the flora, it may be the phytoplankton likewise. Okay, so autotrophs which are living in this particular area, we can say. Now, these are all about the autotroph. That means plants are there and along with that phytoplanktons. Our euglena, you can take example. Some algae, you can take example. Next, consumers in this area. Consumers. Whom we call consumers in generally? Primary consumer, we call herbivore. Secondary consumer, we are going to discuss that also in the food chain topic in this chapter itself. But till the time, you might know some a little bit idea on them, isn't it? So what are the consumers here? Consumers like our paramecium is a consumer. We can say them as collectively as zooplanktons. Some consumers I am writing here that we can say them as zooplankton. Okay, so diatoms we can take, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, whatever you learn in biological classification, they're all phytoplankton. Kingdom protist, consumer planktons. We have a word there that all will come here. Like paramecium we can take, which is living on amoeba is a zooplankton, means small microorganisms are floating on the surface of water. We can say they are not producers. We call them as consumer. So consumer planktons are called zooplanktons. Okay. So along with that, we can see some free swimming. Means we are talking about all the fauna animals present here. Okay. So what you can see from free swimming and bottom dwelling forms are there. Some of the consumers which are free swimming and bottom dwelling living in the bottom of the water. So we can say these are all said to be fauna. Fauna means animals which are present here. Okay. Then another category is there. Autotrophs are there, consumers are there, and we have another category, which is the most important one. We can say decomposers. So pond contain what decomposers are present in the pond? That's the question now. Pond contain decomposers. Do you know any decomposer?
Bacteria.
Yeah, fungi, bacteria. Some fungi, we can say, they are acting as decomposers. Bacteria, major, kingdom Munira. So they are we can say next, some flagellates, also some flagellates. They can act as a decomposers here. So the what do you call the decomposers are the fungi, bacteria, and flagellates. They are especially abundant in the bottom of the pond. These kind of things, where we will find the location of the decomposers can be especially on the bottom of the pond. You can see more, but more maximum you can see at bottom of the pond. These decomposers means when any organism dies, that reaches to the bottom only. So their activity will get started over. So these are all the structural aspects we can see. This system performs all the functions of any ecosystem of the biosphere. That's why we said over pond ecosystem as a unit. We are trying to learn the whole ecosystem. Means what are the properties? What are the functional aspect here? The functional aspect like conversion of inorganic into organic material with the help of the radiant energy of the sun by the autotrophs. What do you call it as? Functional properties means what I am saying here. What I am saying here, the well-known word only in other words I am saying. So let me type that word. At least you may recognize it as what I am saying. The properties like conversion of inorganic material into organic material with the help of radiant energy. What we call this activity? With the help of radiant energy. Energy of whom? Of sun. I think you can answer now. Radiant energy of the sun is converted into chemical energy. By whom?
Autotrophs.
Yeah, by autotrophs. That is one of the property, conversion of the inorganic and substances into organic material with the help of radiant energy of the sun by autotroph. Functional aspects here. Okay. So the functions of the pond system perform all the functions of any ecosystem we said. And now we are saying one function, that conversion of inorganic into organic material, inorganic substance into organic material. And these material prepared by the plants. So someone is going to utilize them. Someone are going to utilize them. What do you say that as consumption? Who consume that area, that particular material? Consumption of the autotrophs. Consumption of the autotrophs by whom?
Heterotrophs.
Very good, very good. Heterotrophs. That this is also a property. This makes energy flow from one trophic level to the another trophic level. Okay, then after the death of all these producers and herbivores, one more activity to be done over. What is the activity? Decomposition and mineralization. That means all they reaches to the bottom. We said in the bottom what are present? Decomposers are present. So that matter is going to be decomposed. That what you call decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter to release them back to release them back for what? For reuse of autotrophs. This is called functional aspect. This in the coming classes we are going to develop this particular. So these events are going to be repeated again and again. That's why we call the pond is as self-sustainable. Means for the growth of the plant, what are required? Nutrients are required. So that with the help of sunlight and nutrients, they prepare food. Okay. So how does they get nutrient? Decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter to release them back for reuse of autotroph. They use reuse and they prepare food. Again, consumption by heterotroph. And when they die, again conversion. This is called functional aspects of ecosystem. We'll discuss in the coming tomorrow, in the coming classes as uh, productivity. In the name of productivity, we are going to discuss here. So one thing you have to understand today, properties we'll discuss in the coming days. That today should understand, should remember the unidirectional flow. there is a unidirectional movement. There is a unidirectional movement of energy. Always there is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher tropic level. Towards the higher tropic level. This line is going to be expanded over in the coming classes. Next class will be very important for us to understand the productivity
Sir,
and energy flow. Yes, yes.
sir, can you show snaps for
Wait. Let me complete.
notes?
I came to the end. So what we are saying,
Okay,
there
sir.
is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher tropic level, and from lower tropic level, and its dissipation and loss of gas heat to the environment, and its dissipation and loss as heat to the environment. So whatever the paragraph which I am presenting here in the end of the session, there is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher tropic level and dissipation and loss as a heat to the environment. These paragraph which make us to entry point to the coming classes like productivity and energy and flow in ecosystem. We are going to have the problems also here. The different kinds of problems will come here. That also we have to discuss. So what we discussed today is about the pond ecosystem. Let me take a look on this particular area. There you will be able to take the screenshots. Okay. So let me take a look. We started from ecosystem. The chapter ecosystem. Okay, chapter 14, NCRT plus 2. Okay. So first of all, what I said, some properties. Ecosystem can be considered as functional unit of nature. It varies greatly in size, like small pond to larger forest and sea. And according to some ecologists, whole Earth is going to be a global ecosystem, which is the composite of all ecosystems. Then basically we categorize the ecosystems into Earth ecosystems into two: terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. When it comes to the terrestrial ecosystem, the forest, grassland, desert, they all come under terrestrial ecosystem. So when we go to the aquatic ecosystem, there is a pond, lake, wetlands, river, estuary, likewise. Then man-made ecosystems are also present, like aquarium and crop fields. Then moving on, structure of ecosystem. When it comes, ecosystem is having some productivity, transfer of energy, input like food chain, food web, nutrient cycling, then output like degradation and energy loss. Then structure and function of ecosystem. In that series, we just made it out. Interaction of abiotic and biotic components results in a physical structure. Abiotic and biotic components will come under physical structure. Okay. Energy flow and nutrient cycles come under functional aspects here that we'll discuss in the coming classes. The identification and enumeration of the plant and animal species of an ecosystem gives the species composition. Means if you want to know the species composition, we need to go for identification, enumeration of how many plant species and how many animal species are present in that ecosystem. To know the species composition, you have to identify and enumerate the plant and animal. So to get the physical structure, we need to understand the interaction of abiotic and biotic component. Then this is very important, vertical distribution of the different species occupying different levels. What do you say it as? Stratification. We have a sequence question here from the grass, herbs, next level, shrub, next height, tree. This is called vertical classification. Height wise, vertical means that heights, small to large, long, we can say. So then after we came to the components of the ecosystem which are seen to function as a unit. When you consider these following aspects, the productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. This is our chapter which we are going to continue one after another. But before that, we came to learn a pond. What is a pond? Pond is a self-sustainable unit. It's a shallow water body. Okay, then water, dissolved inorganic, that means what is there in the pond? Water is there. What is it? It is a component with dissolved inorganic and organic substances with a rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. And four basic components of the ecosystem. Repeating here again, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. Okay. Next, solar input, temperature, day length, and other climatic conditions are going to regulate the rate of function of the entire pond. So, about organisms point of view, when you talk about the pond contain autotrophs like phytoplankton, some algae, and the rooted vegetation like floating plants. We are talking about floating plant, submerged plants, marginal plants, which found at edges. Consumers like zooplankton, free swimming, and bottom dwelling forms can be seen over. Decomposers, fungi, bacteria, flagellates are present here. Especially at bottom of the pond, you'll find these decomposers. Then the functional properties, the conversion of the inorganic into organic material with the help of radiant energy of the sun. Who do this? Autotrophs will do this. Okay, after that, that can be consumption of the autotrophs by heterotrophs makes the flow of energy into the heterotrophs. After the death of the plants and animals, decomposition and mineralization will be done over. The dead matter will be released them back to the reuse of autotrophs. So then, finally, what you are saying here, energy flow is a unidirectional movement. So that we have to prove in the coming classes from lower tropic level from producer to higher tropic level. And in between the tropic level, there is a loss of heat. Energy is going to be lost over. Okay. So thermodynamics in general, we can say all we are going to discuss in the coming classes. Just today, we just made some introduction of the ecosystem and properties of the pond. Okay.